We finally have a live photo of the OnePlus 8 Pro, and I'm going to be sharing all the details right after this. If you're new here and want to stay up to date with the latest tech, please hit subscribe followed by the bell. So it hasn't been long since my last video of the OnePlus 8 and the OnePlus 8 Pro, and we now have plenty of leaks again. We've got a live photo of the OnePlus 8 Pro, a leaked screenshot of the OnePlus 8 Pro about page showing us some key specifications, we've got news of the OnePlus 8 Pro launch event, as well as some leaked benchmarks. We're going to start with the leaked about page of the OnePlus 8 Pro 5G. This was actually provided to me by Yugmug on Twitter, who noticed Abhinav had tweeted this in a OnePlus thread. The leaked screenshot shows us a OnePlus 8 Pro 5G about page and reveals some of the key features of the phone. We've of course got the Snapdragon 865 system on chip, which we always knew was going to be the case. We can see it's a 12GB of RAM with 256 storage variant. It shows a triple camera setup consisting of 64 plus 20 plus 12 megapixel cameras. Of course we are expecting a 3D time of flight depth sensor, but it may be that it's not counting this as a camera. Finally, we can see a 120Hz fluid AMOLED display. If this leak is true, it also confirms a single punch hole camera in the top left of the display. While these leaks do seem likely, we have to remember however that it is just an about page in Android. It could easily be photoshopped and the source of the leak is still very unknown. While features seem likely, I wouldn't put too much faith in this one just yet. Next up however, we've got an official statement from OnePlus to say that an offline launch event of the OnePlus 8 has not been cancelled. Due to the recent corona outbreak, many events have been cancelled worldwide. There were rumours that the OnePlus 8 was going to launch at Mobile World Congress this month, but of course the whole event was cancelled recently. There was a report a few days ago to say the offline launch of the OnePlus 8 was completely cancelled and the event would be online only. Since then, OnePlus have officially confirmed that this information is false. OnePlus has a history of hosting online and offline events globally, and they will continue to do so. So this is great news for OnePlus fans, as there are also rumours that the OnePlus 8 range is going to be launching much earlier this time round. Many sources are claiming that we could see the OnePlus 8 range launch as early as March this year. The next information we have on the OnePlus 8 is of course the leaked benchmark from Geekbench 4. We previously had a benchmark that was believed to be the OnePlus 8 Pro, and this one here is for the standard OnePlus 8. We get a single core score of 4,276 and a multi-core score of 12,541. We can see it's powered by the Snapdragon 865 along with 8GB of RAM, and while the scores are lower than some other 865 benchmarks we've seen, we can of course expect these scores to increase with further software optimization. Finally, we've got live photos of the OnePlus 8 Pro. The live photo was posted to the web, but unfortunately we've got no details on the source that it came from. The photo does however look very convincing, and it confirms the presence of a quad camera setup on the OnePlus 8 Pro. While there is some packaging protection over the device, we can see 3 cameras in the vertical alignment, along with a 3D time of flight sensor to the top left of them. Unfortunately, we only get a shot of the rear, and no front photo has been provided just yet. We also had news last week that the OnePlus 8 Pro is going to be coming with an official IP rating and wireless charging, so that's 2 features that will please many OnePlus fans. For those of you that have missed it, we now pretty much have the full specs and pricing for the whole of the OnePlus 8 range, so I'll quickly run through it all to help you guys decide which model is right for you. When it comes to the OnePlus 8 range, this year we're getting 3 variants, and we may even see the OnePlus Concept 1. If we start with the more affordable, the OnePlus 8 Lite. This is the first time OnePlus have ever delivered a Lite model, so it's going to be interesting to see how it performs in terms of sales. On the front of the OnePlus 8 Lite, we've got a full screen display with a single punch hole camera. The display is going to be a Super AMOLED display coming in at 6.4 inches. It's a Full HD Plus resolution of 1080 by 2400, and it's going to have a 90Hz refresh rate along with an in-display fingerprint scanner. It's believed that the selfie camera on the OnePlus 8 Lite is going to be a 16 megapixel Sony IMX471. When it comes to the rear, we've got a different camera arrangement on the OnePlus 8 Lite. It was initially thought that we'd get a dual camera setup on the device, but the recent news and photos claim that the OnePlus 8 Lite is going to have a triple camera setup. We get a 48 megapixel Sony IMX586 with an aperture of f4.7. We get a 16 megapixel ultra-wide with an aperture of f2.2. And finally, we get a 12 megapixel telephoto lens with an aperture of f2.4. It's also going to support both optical and electronic image stabilization. We've got the power button and the alert slider on the right hand side of the phone, with the volume buttons on the left, and the phone is of course powered by USB Type-C, and there's no 3.5mm headphone jack. While many were speculating that the OnePlus 8 Lite was going to be powered by the Snapdragon 765, the latest reports claim it's going to be using MediaTek's Indemsity 1000 system on chip, and this is going to be coupled with 8GB of RAM and a choice of 128 or 256 storage, which will of course be UFS 3. The phone dimensions reportedly come in at 159.2 by 74 by 8.6mm, making it smaller than the OnePlus 7, and it's reportedly going to be powered by a 4000 mAh battery with support for 30W fast charging. The OnePlus 8 Lite is expected to come in two variants, and the 8GB of RAM with 128 storage is reportedly going to be $428, and the 8GB of RAM with 256 storage will be $472. Next up, we've got the standard OnePlus 8. When it comes to the standard OnePlus 8, we can see it looks very similar to the previous models, although this time they've decided to go with a punch hole selfie camera instead of the notch we're used to seeing. For the first time ever, we're getting a curved display on the standard model, and a news source claims that the OnePlus 8 is going to be a 6.4-inch 120Hz fluid AMOLED display. It's going to have a Quad HD Plus resolution of 1440 by 3140, and it will of course have an in-display fingerprint scanner. A new report claims the selfie camera on the standard OnePlus 8 is going to be the 32 megapixel Sony IMX616. As you can see, they've gone with the triple camera setup on the rear of the OnePlus 8, and they have stuck with the vertical alignment that we're used to seeing. The OnePlus 8 is reportedly going to be coming with a 64 megapixel Sony IMX686 with an aperture of f1.6 as the primary sensor. We'll get a 20 megapixel ultra wide with an aperture of f2.2, and finally a 12 megapixel telephoto with an aperture of f2.4 and 5x hybrid zoom. The OnePlus 8 again has the power button and the alert slider on the right, with the volume rocker on the left and the SIM tray at the bottom. The device is powered by the Snapdragon 865 and the X55 modem, meaning we get 5G support on the standard OnePlus 8. It should be coming with a choice of 8 or 12GB of RAM and 128 or 256 storage, which is UFS 3. It's going to be powered up by a 4000 mAh battery, and there's a bit of confusion between the fast charging, some reports claiming 30W and others claiming 50, and it will hopefully have wireless charging as well. The phone dimensions come in at 162.6 by 75.9 by 8.8mm, and we do get stereo speakers on the standard OnePlus 8. The price of the OnePlus 8 with 8GB of RAM and 128 storage is expected to be $528. For 8GB of RAM with 256 storage, we're expecting $571, and for 12GB of RAM with 256 storage, we're expecting $614. Now finally, we've got the most premium model in the range, the OnePlus 8 Pro. On the front, we've got the same all-screen curved display, and while earlier leaks believed the OnePlus 8 Pro was going to have a dual punch hole camera in the top left, we now believe that this could be a single punch hole camera. The display is expected to be a 6.65-inch 120Hz fluid AMOLED display. It's going to have a Quad HD Plus resolution of 1440 by 3140, and it will of course have the in-display fingerprint scanner. A new report claims the selfie camera is going to be the 32 megapixel Sony IMX616. While people were expecting a 3D time of flight depth sensor, if it's only got a single punch hole, then this isn't going to be the case. The OnePlus 8 Pro is going to be the first from OnePlus to feature a quad camera setup on the rear. It's going to come with a 64 megapixel Sony IMX686 with an aperture of f1.6 as the primary sensor. We get a 20 megapixel ultra wide with an aperture of f2.2, a 12 megapixel telephoto with an aperture of f2.4 and 10x hybrid zoom, and finally the 3D time of flight depth sensor. The device will again be powered by the Snapdragon 865 along with the X55 modem, meaning we do get 5G support, and it should be coming with a choice of 8 or 12 gigs of RAM, 128 or 256 storage again, which is UFS 3. We've got the power button and the alert slider on the right with the volume rocker on the left, and the battery capacity is reportedly going to be 4,500 mAh, and it will support 50 watt fast charging. Again, we get stereo speakers on the OnePlus 8 Pro, and it's going to measure in at 165.3 by 74 by 8.8mm, so the same thickness as its predecessor. It was thought that this would again mean we do not get wireless charging, but recent leaks have pointed towards wireless charging, and it does seem very likely that we'll be getting it. The OnePlus 8 Pro is going to come with the same RAM and storage configurations as the standard OnePlus 8, so we get the 8 gigs of RAM with 128 storage for $714. We get 8 gigs of RAM with 256 storage for $786, and finally there's a choice of 12 gigs of RAM with 256 storage for $858. But with leaks pouring in every week, it's great that we have so much news for all models. As I said earlier, my most complaints in the comment section are always about wireless charging and official IP ratings, so if OnePlus can include these in the OnePlus 8, then it would put a clear stop to it, and I guess the only complaints then are going to be the 3.5mm headphone jack, which isn't coming back. As always though, I'd like to know your thoughts in the comments. Who out there is waiting for the OnePlus 8? Will you be getting the OnePlus 8 Lite, the OnePlus 8 or the OnePlus 8 Pro? But thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, smash a thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down twice, and I'll see you guys in the next one.